Hello, and this is my first impressions of the brand new Chery Tiggo 7. So around the front of the Tiggo 7, the design is fairly nice really, but it is kind of playing it safe. It's not a striking design by any means, but it looks fairly good really along the other lineup of SUVs on sale in the UK right now. So around the front we have got these nice LED headlights. We've got this fairly large and quite bold grille section, which has got a lot of shiny plastic around the back and this chrome, almost like teeth on the front. That black plastic shiny stuff is also on the side here. It's not overly clear how this will age over time, but only time will tell. Obviously, on this car that's 2 days old, it does look amazing right now, but it might not last that well in the future. We've got this fairly large Chery badge here, and we have got the front-facing camera. Now, this particular one, the Summit, does come with a standard 540-degree camera system, which doesn't come on the entry-level trim. And that means when you're reversing, you can see what's behind you, but also in front of you as well, which is actually quite useful. And it does change between those camera modes fairly quickly, I've noticed. Down the bottom, we have got some fog lights in the corners and some parking sensors too. For the Chery Tiggo 7, there are 2 different trim levels and 2 different powertrain options. You get the entry-level Aspire and the top-spec Summit. And you get the pure petrol, like the one I have here, or the very advanced Chery Super Hybrid system, which offers around 750 miles of range. Prices start at $24,995 for the entry-level Aspire, and go up to $27,995 for the Summit, which adds a few optional extras. The Super Hybrid then starts at $29,995, and all versions of the Chery Tiggo 7 come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Before we go any further, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Interface Cars YouTube channel. There's lots of content coming on a regular basis. New car reviews like this one, infotainment walkthroughs, and EV charging guides. Thank you. So under the bonnet is obviously an engine. However, I haven't seen this much of a simple under the bonnet experience really before. So underneath this plastic section is all the oily stuff, so 12-watt battery and the engine itself. But what a lot of people seem to get confused about is where to put certain fluids in the car. So what Chery has done is basically hidden away all the engine, just like in an EV sometimes, and put in these 2 openings, one for the washer fluid and one for the coolant, and that keeps things a lot more simple. This engine is a 1.6 litre petrol turbocharged unit, not hybrid because that is reserved for the Super Hybrid system, and it's got 197 brake horsepower and a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. So for the front interior, I've got to say that I think Chery's done quite a good job in terms of the materials that they've used, but also the whole design as well. Obviously, the core design is fairly similar to what the brand is doing with Omoda in the UK, but it is kind of got its own unique look as well. The first thing you kind of see is this large dual screen setup. So we've got 2 screens here, one for the driver and then one for the infotainment system. And both of these screens are 12.6 inches in size. The bezels themselves are fairly large and quite shiny black. I'm not sure how that will fare on a very sunny day. It's very grey today in the UK as usual, but that might provide a lot of reflections, but only time will tell. The other problem with this is that this actual screen itself isn't fully laminated to the display, which also adds some reflections and different refractions and things. So again, that might arise some problems. But the core technology, which is underneath this infotainment system, is pretty decent. We've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both of which are wireless. This specific Summit trim, as I mentioned earlier, does come with the around view camera, so you can see a lot around the car, and there's cameras in the mirrors as well, which provide a really nice depth of field when you're trying to move the car around. Really, really good. If you want a full in-depth look at this infotainment screen, by the way, there's a link now in the top right-hand corner, or the description down below, where I check out this infotainment screen in depth. On the wheel itself, this actual wheel is fully leather, which is quite nice. And we have got these, again, shiny black plastic buttons here. They might look like haptic buttons, but thankfully they are not. They are just a one large clickable surface. It's got volume up here, the voice assistant. You can change this screen view here as well. And we've got all the cruise control settings. We've got some stalks here, so just 2, one for the lights on this side and one for the wipers. The lights and wipers, as expected, are fully automated, really, really good there. And we've got this little sensor here for I guess, watching you while you're driving to make sure you're not fatigued or yawning. On this side here, we've got these little haptic buttons or little touch buttons here. One is for the brightness for the screens, which is not quite nice to see. And then we have got these volume controls. So these buttons here don't control the main media volume for the car, but they do just control the audio volume or the alert tone. So if you are, I don't know, going too fast in a speed zone, it's warning you too loudly, you can just turn that down. But interestingly, those alert systems can be turned off quite quickly from this infotainment screen. So if you swipe down, you get access to that, which is pretty handy as well. The climate control settings are, well, they're not physical buttons, they are completely haptic, which I'm not a massive fan of. We've got these slide controls here for doing the temperature, got the windscreen. We've got this pure button here, which is for the air purification system. A lot of cars are starting to have that now, a lot of pollutants in the air, so it's quite nice to see that as well. And we've got air conditioning, the recirculation and the fan speed here. So it's kind of a dual-based system of these touch-based controls, which are a little bit finicky to use, as well as the on-screen controls as well. If you've ever driven an Omoda vehicle, this will look fairly similar to what you've seen before. Same sort of graphic setup as well. Down in this big center console here, it's very high up, so it does provide a nice place to rest your arm while you're driving. And there's quite a lot of stuff here, quite a lot of storage as well. So we've got a wireless phone charger here. Now, the base spec version of the Tiggo 7 doesn't come with a wireless phone charger. And this is actually up to 50 watts, which is really quite good as well. We've got two USB ports. One's USB-C for charging devices, and the USB-A port is, well, it will also charge, but it will also pass through the data for the smartphone mirroring as well. We've got two cup holders here, which hold cans pretty well. And then we've got the physical buttons for the driving features. So we've got a nice big gear selector here. It's very old school, really. It provides a nice tactile feel with the vehicle. We've got a volume rocker here, which is a little bit loose feeling. We've got some buttons here for the driving settings, the electronic handbrake, auto hold, the hazard warning switch, and we've got a shortcut to the camera as well. And we've got this driving mode. So this lets you switch between sport mode, which tells you in a very funny voice, like eco mode, and normal and sport mode. And then underneath here, we've got a very, very large glove center console bin here with an LED light and an air pass-through section as well. So this little section here is almost like a little fridge. It is very, very deep, almost up to my elbow there. Pretty decent. Underneath the center console itself, we've got a bit of storage here, and that does house the 12-volt socket as well. To my right here, we have got a hidden sunglasses holder. This is very, very reminiscent of what BYD do. So it is kind of cloth lined, so it is nicely hidden away there. The seats in the front are electronically adjustable, and the driver's seat is electronically adjustable on both trim levels of the Tiggo 7. The passenger seat, however, is not electronically adjustable on the entry-level trim. The front seats are also heated and cooled on both the driver and passenger. Around the side, the styling is pretty typical for most mid-size crossovers of this size. There is a nice chrome trim piece down the bottom, and the roof on this Summit trim has the sunroof and roof bars. Also on this trim are the cameras on the mirrors for that 540-degree around view system. You also get larger 19-inch alloys on the Summit trim, whereas the entry-level Aspire has 18 inches instead. You get standard door handles, and the doors have a solid enough sounding thump. The key is also pretty nice, with a good amount of weight and tactility. Around the back of the Tiggo 7, there's a fair amount of stuff going on really. So you've got the Chery badge at the very top here underneath the rear window. Got the Tiggo 7 branding on this left-hand side, nothing on this side, and below this rear light bar, which is actually quite large and chunky, it's quite a clean design. It's quite nicely done. There's a black plastic bumper, and even though the Tiggo 7 is a combustion vehicle, there's no visible exhaust, which makes the whole design a little bit cleaner really. Got a tinted rear window here with a very small rear wiper and a fairly decent rear spoiler as well. Once you open up the boot, which is super quiet to do so, you reveal the pretty decent sized load area, which is 426 litres with the seats up. You also get a load cover which can be removed, as well as a 12-volt socket and a few bag hooks. Underneath the false floor is a full-size spare wheel, although this is not included on the Super Hybrid System version. Once you fold the back seats down, that reveals a pretty large 1,672 litres of space. In the back seat to the Tiggo 7, there's actually a fairly good amount of space really. I've got a really good amount of legroom here, a fairly good amount of headroom too. The only problem I can kind of see is that if you are sat with 3 people in the back, there might be a bit of knocking your head against this section of the roof, but it generally isn't too bad at all. The seats themselves are fairly comfortable and quite soft. They're not real leather by any means, but that really isn't a problem, and they are quite breathable and again quite soft. In the middle section here, we have got a fairly good armrest, and it is quite solid feeling. And there are 2 little cup holders here. There aren't any grippy sections, so only time will tell how they kind of work day to day, but they look perfectly fine. This middle section doesn't fold out like a ski hatch, like a ski load hatch or anything. It just is a 60-40 split like we saw earlier, but absolutely fine. One thing I'm quite surprised about is the fact that this car is, one, combustion, but it's got nearly a flat floor, which is quite surprising. Usually in combustion vehicles, you don't really see this kind of thing. And yeah, it just means sitting in the middle seat will be less of a pain. In the middle section here, we've got a few things. We've got one USB-A port, which is a little bit strange to see in 2025. Would have expected USB-C. There is a small phone holder here, and then there is a small cubby holder down the bottom, as well as 2 air vents as well. On this Summit trim, this one comes with the panoramic sunroof as standard. You don't get that on the entry-level Aspire. And this one does electronically open, and it does provide a nice lot of light. The Tiggo 7 is actually quite a refined vehicle. This definitely feels a lot more grown up than other Chinese cars I've driven in the past. You can kind of tell that Chery's going squarely after Volkswagen with this vehicle, and really the Tiggo 7 is kind of going after the Volkswagen Tiguan, and I do think it's pretty much the same size. In terms of that engine, I am driving the pure combustion one, and it's a 1.6 litre petrol with just under 200 brake horsepower. It's fairly gruff at times, but the 7-speed gearbox is thankfully a dual clutch system, so it does mean that gear changes are pretty smooth and quite unobtrusive. And for quite a large car, that amount of power doesn't sound like a lot, but in actual practice, it does get a shift on quite quickly. The steering is also quite well weighted. It's not too loose, it's not too heavy, and we've got those different driving modes which can be set up to adjust the steering feel as well. It definitely feels quite a grown-up car. The ride quality is pretty compliant as well. I mean, yeah, you can feel some of the potholes and imperfections in the road through the cabin, but it isn't too bad at all, really. Now, Chery has said they have done quite a lot of work to isolate the cabin from the outside world. You can't hear a massive amount of stuff from the outside. The only real thing I can hear is the engine when you do rev it quite high. The gearbox itself, while it is dual clutch, it does change up a little bit slowly sometimes. So while the engine is dealing with itself, I mean, there you go. You can hear a little bit more loud than usual, but it isn't too bad at all. In terms of fuel economy, I will put the exact figure that Chery quote on screen now. But over the last few minutes of driving, around 7 miles, I've been getting 23 mpg. I've been going uphill quite a lot, so that is probably to do with it, but the actual fuel economy will likely be a bit better than that. Now, in terms of visibility, I've got this really nice high driving position. I can see it over the bonnet really, really easily. The bonnet itself is actually quite large, so that helps a lot. The mirrors are a really good size, really nice and big, and these A-pillars are not big at all, really quite slim, and they're not impacting the visibility in any way. The rear window itself is actually quite large, and for where I'm sat anyway, the headrests in the back aren't actually in the way at all. Just going a little bit faster now, up to about 50 miles per hour around these corners, and there's a little bit of body roll, but not much really, and you aren't going to be driving this hard and fast like a sports car obviously, but it is nice to have less body roll than other SUVs for sure.
Sport mode.
So now I'm in sport mode. Let's see if that's livened things up a little bit. Handling hasn't really changed. It maybe is cornering a little bit flatter than it was a minute ago. Yeah, it definitely is. A little less body roll than before. And yeah, this isn't going to be a sporty SUV. We've only got 200 horsepower, but it isn't slow at all, really. It actually picks up quite quickly and handles fairly well. So that's been a look at the Chery Tiggo 7 for 2025. Let me know what you think about this car in the comments down below. My name's Alex, please subscribe to Interface Cars, and I'll see you again next time. So under the bonnet is obviously the, oh,